Hi, in this video we're going to talk about how to solve a polynomial function in MATLAB environment. So I have already opened MATLAB and saved a script. I have named it as poly_roots. You can name it as anything you want. So depending on this, let's just see how to use MATLAB to solve any polynomial functions. First, what is a polynomial function? You can see the example of polynomial function is something like this, where you will have a variable, let's say x, and that will be powered with another number. Here, in this case, it's squared, so it's 2. It can be any number n. So this polynomial function involves a power, and then there's another x term and plus 1. So to solve it, we're going to use this function called roots in MATLAB and see how to do that. So first, let's just see an example, and we'll come back to this MATLAB later. So let's just define a polynomial function like this. So here we have a function, for example, it's x cubed minus 2x plus 1. You can say equal to 0 to make it as an equation, but this is the function. Now you can see we can write it in a different way. So let's just write it this way. So we can do instead of x cubed, we can say 1 times x cubed. So we know that there's a coefficient 1 here, and there's no x squared term, but we can say that 0 times x squared, just to fill in those gaps, because 0 times anything is 0, but we need to do this to actually satisfy the roots command in MATLAB. So we need to find the coefficients of these terms. So this is 1, this is 0, and then this should be a plus and minus 2. So if plus and minus multiplied is minus 2, but we have put minus 2 to isolate the coefficient value, and then the last one is plus 1. So from here, if we just define the coefficients, we can see that the coefficient vector should be defined as the following, as 1, 0, minus 2, and 1. So it should start with the biggest power's coefficient, and then gradually towards the constant. So if you don't have any power or any terms, like here I don't have an x squared, so you can put zeros for that. And that way we can define this coefficient vector, and this coefficient vector will determine the roots or the solutions of this equation in MATLAB. So let's just jump back to MATLAB environment, and as I said, I already have the script saved, and I have put this CLC and clear on all to CLC is for the clear command, and this command clear to command clear this window, and clear all should clear all your workspace variable. And now let's put a comment here. So we want to find this equation. So let's just see. Let's solve. I'll write here. Let's solve x cubed minus 2x plus 1 equals to 0. So this is our equation using roots. Okay, so we're going to use this function called root. So let's just define a variable called solution, and equals to, we're going to use this function called roots, parenthesis, and now you can see it's asking for a variable p. So this should be the coefficient variable. So we can define the coefficients before using this actually. So I'll define it before. So I'll just say p1 or whatever is my coefficients, and put the third brackets. As we saw before, this x cubed has coefficient 1, so I'll type 1, and there's no x squared term, so I'll type 0. The x has minus 2 as coefficient, and constant 1 has 1. So this is my coefficient vector, and we can input this coefficient vector here as p1. So this will take this coefficient vector here and solve the roots. So if we just run it, and that's my solution. So as you can see, there's it's a cube function, so there should be 3 solutions. So here, as you can see, the solutions or roots are minus 1.61, 1, and 0.618. So these are my These are my roots. The other thing we could have done is not to define this P1. We can straightforward define this. I'll just copy and paste it here. So I could have done this one, like put a third bracket, put all the coefficient vectors, and put the parenthesis here, and that's also gonna solve the functions. But to define another vector for coefficients is a neat way, because you can change it here and don't have to think about anything to change in the program. So this is the best way to do it. Let's just solve another function just to see how this thing works. So let's solve 10. I'll just write another equation. 10x squared, let's say, plus 5x plus 25 equals to 0. So this is my function. So as you can see, this is another polynomial, so I can define another variable, let's say p2, whatever, and then third brackets. Now, as you can see, the highest is squared, so 2. The coefficient is 10, so the first element of this vector should be 10. And then the x has coefficient 5, so I'll just put 5 here, space. The constant is 25, so that's my vector. And then we can say solution, let's say 2 or whatever, and use roots. Now use P2 here just to see the solution of this equation. So now if I run it, as you can see, the solution 2 has 2 solutions, and both of them are complex solutions. So from this video, we saw that how to use roots function in the MATLAB environment and solve polynomial equations. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.